Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, the $1 Million Show, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide. And today is beautiful June 22nd, 2016. I think it's officially summertime because it's about 100 degrees out here in California, Big C. Now, I was asking you guys to send out some of that water you're getting from the south, but you sent out the sunshine, Big C. What's going on with that?
Well, it made it to the Dakotas, Charlton. I mean, they had hail and, potential tornadoes out there with just rain falling everywhere. It's unfortunate for the United States that where the rain is greatly needed to help citizens and people of a region, then it's falling all in the wrong places, Charlton. California's been so drought-ridden. Our sympathies and hopes go out to the firefighters of this great state and the people who live there.
Yeah.
That much more loss won't happen, and devastation in their lives.
Well, we know we got driving up California highway. There's a highway called Highway 99. It's one of the oldest highways in California, and it's agricultural country, so driving through there. In fact, President Obama was down at Capitol Air Force Base last week when he took his family on vacation to Yosemite. But driving up and down Highway 99, there are signs that say, pray for rain. Okay, instead of praying for rain, we want some of you good old boys to hook up some canals and some waterway systems and bring the water into California that way. Prayer is great, but waterway systems a little bit better. Big C, your thoughts on that?
But Charlton, when you look at the United States, they've always talked about building pipelines. Now, a couple of years ago, they were talking greatly about this Keystone pipeline of bringing shale oil from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, what's greatly needed more than anything is water across this great country, Charlton. And we have places that have been in drought restrictions for years. And water is the lifeline of everything. Yeah. And you would think that would be the number one thing that, government and private industry would look at, is building a pipeline source of water. Yeah. But now we get down to the fight of who owns it and how much can they charge for it, Charles.
Well, see, that's so funny because when President Obama was in the great Yosemite Valley, it's actually one of the most beautiful areas in the world, and they had these huge waterfalls. But just a few years ago, there was just a drip of water because we're having a water problem. And I know people don't want to talk about global warming, and I think that's important because right now you have all the football programs starting to happen. College football just got through their spring training, Big C. It's amazing how Alabama packs over 90,000 people for a spring game. Ohio State had over 100,000 for a spring game. So water is always important this time of year. And when we talk about water, football is the time of year where you got to get double days. I think you good old boys practice at like 3 in the morning and then also 7 in the morning, Big C. Is that when you drink the most water from what I hear, Big C?
Well, you think about those days, Charlton, and you really don't miss them, going out there in that triple-digit weather. Yeah. That first practice would be about 9 o'clock in the morning with the dew still on the grass, and that second practice would be around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. When the mosquitoes wouldn't even come out, it would be so hot.
It's too hot.
The things have changed. Hydration and knowledge of the players, physical, awareness, from coaching staffs, from medical staffs, have really helped. But, when we talk about the heat with all these young men, and we've talked about the head trauma a lot, Charlton, with young athletes. Yeah. Right now is the time that you really have to be concerned with the Pop Warner kids, the high school players, and college, because they don't have the elite medical staff that the NFL has put together for their teams, Charlton. Yeah. So that's always a great concern with them. So, hopefully we won't have any travesties this summer out there in the football camps. Yeah. That everybody will come through in perfect health, Charlton.
Well, let me ask you this question, Big C, and also this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you because you can only get it there new. Now, as we talk about all the great things that happen, and everyone has to drink water. So we're saying drink lots of water. But if you're in California, if you water your lawn, you tend to get fined. So a lot of people, they kind of cutting back on everything, but you got to drink lots of water. And speaking of water, Big C, I'm sure the Cleveland Cavaliers just celebrated their second parade. We know the first parade they had was the one down in Las Vegas, but they had a second one in Cleveland, Ohio. I think there was 1.3 million people there. Is that what I hear, Big C?
Well, that's what the newscaster said, Charlton. I mean, there was an array, a sea of people in Cleveland. Yeah. The Midwest drought now is over for a championship, 54 years since they had one in Cleveland. But, the most amazing thing that I saw about that, Charlton, we saw it on their trip to Las Vegas, and that half the team still hasn't gotten dressed.
Yeah.
And this is the thing we talked about with the commissioner. Yes, it's a great time for celebration, but it's also a time for representation, Charlton. You're representing your franchise, you're representing your city, you're representing the league.
Yeah.
And you're running around with no clothes on, Charlton. Yeah. That's almost like an embarrassment to the professional organization.
Yeah.
And yes, you want to enjoy a championship, but you can enjoy it fully dressed and with some professionalism. And we didn't get that in Cleveland again today, as we didn't get it the other night when they were in Las Vegas with their first parade.
Well, Big C, you can't blame them, because I believe there's a Victoria's Secret show that comes on, I think, CBS television, and the Victoria's Secret catalog, I think that clothing line, if you can call it clothing line, Big C, the string line, I should call it, is worth $1 billion. So, that's ironic. You would think, when I grew up, the more clothing you had, the more it cost. They'll go in there and sell a bra for about $200, and it has like 5 strings on it, Big C. So, am I missing something? Maybe that's what they were wearing. And in Cleveland, they went to the Las Vegas Victoria's Secret party. Is that outside the lines, Big C?
Well, it truly could be outside the lines, but they say what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. But Cleveland could not wait to let it get out of Vegas, and everybody had their cameras going, getting on FaceTime, Snapchat, whatever they use these days, Uber, but they wanted everybody to see their actions and probably, somewhat indiscretions that they were doing, Charlton. But, I thought they should have had a little more professionalism. Congratulations to them for winning the 2016 NBA title. But have a little more professionalism to you about representing your city, showing your fans appreciation, and just being adult men in the street of a major city, Charles.
Now, Big C, come on, let's be real now. You play sports, and I know you can't tell all the things that you heard about, because you can't go out and say what just happened, but I do believe this, and I know this is real.
Hey,
but
Charlton, I may have had a beer in the locker room, okay? I'm going to let people know that now. I may have had a beer in the locker room,
right,
but it was only for hydration. It wasn't for celebration,
see, Hulk Hogan taught us something. If you can go someplace, I think he had an indiscretion. In fact, he had an affair with his supposedly best friend's wife. I don't think his ex-wife, but his best friend's wife. And then he sued whoever videotaped it. So, number one, who was there? Number one. And number two, who awarded him $125 million? What jury would do that, saying that he feels embarrassed because someone showed him taking a picture of having an indiscretion and sexual liaison with his best friend's wife? So when you have these athletes, they're not dumb, Big C. They go down there, and they're hoping for the same thing. Maybe if they get caught up in some scandal, they can sue for $125 million. Does that make a Big C? Does it make sense at all?
Well, when you look at Hulk, I think the jury consisted of the camera people, the editors, and the directors.
Yeah.
Those are the people who sat on the jury that recorded the Hulk Hogan's incident.
Yeah.
But, it just shows how America can be a travesty when it comes to lawsuits, Charlton. I remember back in the 90s when this elderly lady sued McDonald's over a hot cup of coffee that she placed between her legs and got $75 million from the fast food company. And when you look at these things, you have to wonder at times, what are the instructions to the jury?
Yeah.
It comes from the judge as well as the attorneys to award such absorbent funds. Now, we have people in America that get injured and crippled all the time. If you're going to reward it to them, let's award money to these military personnel, Charlton.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine?
If you want to award some money, these people are the ones you should award money to, not some frivolous lawsuit that you go into court and say that you were damaged. Well, we know that there's Americans who have really been damaged, making an ultimate sacrifice for this great country, Charles.
Now, that's well said, Big C. And, obviously we want to always thank our military, because not just for Memorial Day or Veterans Day, they keep us safe all the time, Big C. And speaking of keeping us safe all the time, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. Go down and test drive the 1 Series all the way up to the super powerful 600 horsepower M7. And when you're test driving it, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, thank Cleveland for just making something happen that was worthwhile watching. They were part of this whole staged NBA championship, so congratulations to them because they played their part. But let me just ask you this question. There's a lot of breaking news that happened in the NBA today in Chicago, Michael Jordan's city. Derrick Rose, I believe he was a first pick for the Chicago Bulls, and now they got rid of him.
Out of the University of Memphis, Charlton, about a decade ago.
Yeah, so what?
And by the way, his head college coach was John Calipari.
John Calipari, one and done with him, right? So now we talked about the great LeBron James maybe going to the coast, East Coast or West Coast. I think that puts everything to rest because he wouldn't play with Derrick Rose. He already has a great Kyrie Irving. But Derrick Rose going to New York, I mean, this could have happened in his prime. I don't see he and Carmelo Anthony getting the Knicks into the playoffs, Big C, but it is a big name, a name that's always injured. Just your thoughts on that trade, Big C.
Well, I look at that trade in a positive mode. We've talked a lot about Russell Westbrook this year.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook is the latest version of Derrick Rose. When Derrick Rose was healthy prior to his knee and Achilles injury, Charlton, he was Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
He was a former league MVP. He was fulfilling all of his potential. They even had a 60-game win season in Chicago under Tom Thibodeau when he was head coach there.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they made the playoffs every year under Thibodeau prior to his dismissal in Chicago.
Yeah.
But Derrick Rose has had the ability. The supporting cast went down a couple of years ago when Lou Albang left and went to Miami.
Yeah.
But, going into New York, this reminds me of an OKC scenario. Where you have Carmelo Anthony, who's always been one of the premier shooters in the NBA.
Yeah.
Now you have Derrick Rose, a very aggressive point guard. But you also have Fazekas, this player that they picked last year out of Russia in the first round, who has really developed.
Yeah.
So they have the nucleus of a solid team, Charlton. Now I imagine that they're going to add one or two more pieces. But under what they've had, as far as what Phil Jackson is trying to run with the triangle, the New York Knicks can potentially make the playoffs this upcoming season. Yeah,
they talked about Aaron Aflalo and Derek Williams also with the Knicks. They've opted out of their contract, and Aflalo is set to receive $8 million. So there's a lot of transition happening around the NBA, Big C. But I think a trade that would be even bigger than that, there's always this talk with Golden State. I don't think they need to upset the chemistry, but I think they sent Bogut packing. But when you think he's in Atlanta, I believe. But if you think about if they got a big player, Durant coming to Golden State, which I don't think will happen, but it may because they have a lot of talk going on in the background. But it could upset the chemistry because you have three guys that want the ball more than anybody else. That would be Curry, Thompson, and now if you bring in him, that's going to upset the pecking order. Your thoughts on that, Big C, Durant to Golden State?
Well, Durant is not the answer for Golden State, Charlton. As I spoke a couple of days ago, Dwight Howard is the answer for Golden State, who's, wasting time in Houston right now. And he and Mike D'Antoni, the new head coach, can't get along. They didn't get along when they were both with the Lakers. Matter of fact, D'Antoni lost his job, so one of them is not going to be in Houston come the start of the season. But if you want to talk about a guy who doesn't demand the ball all the time, that's Dwight Howard, but he's a great defensive stopper, which would be the best plus for the Golden State Warriors with all those great outside shooters. Now they have somebody who can clog the lane, who's going to get you consistent 12, 15 rebounds a game. And you can go down and play defense with him, and you'll have all your offensive shooters on the outside, Charlton.
What about Dirk Nowitzki? Dallas, the Mavericks, they can't seem to keep anyone happy. And Dirk Nowitzki, he wants to get away from Mark Cuban for some reason. Now, Mark Cuban's a billionaire like many other people, but Mark Cuban spends so much time on Shark Tank, maybe he's not spending enough time trying to bring another championship team into Dallas because that market is they have the Cowboys. They've always been a winning franchise there. And then you have the Dallas Stars in the NHL. And then their baseball team, Texas, was in the World Series just a few years ago, and they lost to the Giants. But if you look at the Mavericks, their team that was right there in the thick of things several years ago, Nowitzki, he's an all-star Hall of Famer. Would he be a good fit in Oakland any more so than you're thinking of Howard, Big C? What's your thoughts on that?
No, Nowitzki was not fit in Oakland, Charlton. When you think about his game, you have a guy who's a mid-range jump shooter. He is not a defensive presence, even though he's 7 feet tall, and he's at the end of his career. So those are things that you have to be put in play. Now, could he benefit another organization, Charlton, such as the Lakers, who could bring some stability to a great franchise? Yes, he could. He could really benefit a team like that. Or you may even see him, looking at a team like Utah, who has a lot of young players.
Yeah, they're very young.
That are just 1 or 2 players away from getting back into that playoff hunt.
Yeah.
But he can also work in OKC, Charlton. When you look at it, when you look at the players they have, you bring in the whiskey, you get rid of Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
Now you have a big man who can really shoot the basketball.
Yeah, that's true. But if they don't have Durant, then I think you can say bye to the playoffs. Maybe they'll get to the first round again. But you look at Portland out west. Portland's going to be good again. Utah has a lot of talent. Of course, you look at Golden State. You look at the Clippers. And OKC is kind of a balancing act depending on what happens with Durant. But I do think you're right, Howard. Howard's kind of accused of being kind of listless, doesn't have a lot of energy, but I just think he's such an imposing player. He's not high-strung, so he still gives effort, but when you're playing with Harden down there, you're not going to get the ball a lot, so he never really felt like he's part of the offense. And I think you're right. At Golden State, they move the ball so much that he will be a part of the game, and he was probably going to get about 20 points a game if he comes, but we'll have to see what happens with that, Big C. And also another big shocking news, I don't know if it's shocking or not, because we were saying it doesn't make sense to happen. We just saw what happened with Lamar Odom. We saw what happened with the Rat Pack down in Las Vegas. There's a lot of things that happen in Las Vegas that are not necessarily good for pro athletes with a ton of money because of temptation. But the NHL, I know that most of the teams are in Canada, but they're making their 31st franchise in Las Vegas. Big C, is that what I hear is right? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, the NHL today accepted a deal that the league would get $500 million
Wow.
to form the 31st franchise in Las Vegas. Now, we know that hockey is a cold weather sport, Charlton. It was
Yeah.
really formed up in the Northeast and up in Canada.
Yeah.
But when you look at all of these southern U.S. cities now, Charlton, with hockey,
Yeah.
and hockey arenas are a little cooler than other arenas, Charlton.
Yeah.
So these people are not built for hockey in some of these geographical areas.
Yeah.
But this is the most mesmerizing of all.
Yeah.
Now, we saw some of the impact of Vegas betting on the NBA championship, Charlton.
Yeah.
Now you got a hockey team that's around for 62 games.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a lot of pressure on a lot of individuals, and some of them may not be making maximum contracts, Charlton.
Yeah.
So how influenceable will that environment be, not just on the home team, Charlton, but when you're looking at visiting teams also? This is impactful. This is a human factor. We saw it in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, you put an NHL team in Las Vegas, you really have to worry about the goalies and a few other people, Charlton. So, I question the move by Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
I thought that David Stern had taught him better when he was, the assistant commissioner in the NBA, and he's been in the NHL for about 20 years now as a commissioner. But this move is really unprecedented and going to be challenging.
Well, let me ask you this question because, and I heard some of the other owners, like a Jerry Jones was talking about it. He's not taking the Dallas Cowboys to Las Vegas, but he's trying to goat, Mark Davis for the Raiders to go down there because he keeps saying that he would not have a problem with it. Maybe that gives more guys the chance to go into Las Vegas and have an explanation as to, hey, honey, well, I'm going to be 6 hours late, like the Cleveland Cavaliers. In fact, when you think about the Cleveland Cavaliers going there, and now you have the NHL opening up a team there, what makes Las Vegas, and this might be a stupid question, but what makes Las Vegas any more tempting than, say, Los Angeles, New York, or Chicago? They're both big cities, or all big cities, and that can have people touch you or give you a bribery or whatever it takes. We know that gambling's legal there, just like it is on the East Coast. I think is it Virginia City?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Legal.
Yeah, it's legal there too, but there's no talk about not taking teams to New Jersey. So what it is, again, what's the pushback against Las Vegas? I think it's because it's a lot more seedy when it comes to the money thing. But am I naive about that, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I think the number one factor, you have to look no further than the St. Louis Cardinals when they left St. Louis and went to Arizona, and they were playing in Sun Devil Stadium a couple decades ago.
Yeah.
Okay, now, you on game day, it's 114, 120 degrees in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, and where are they going to play? Let's start there right off the back. They're going to play in Sam Boyd Silver Bowl, that only seats about 32 to 35,000 people.
They're talking about building a state-of-the-art stadium just like you have down in Phoenix, because it gets hot in Phoenix also, but Phoenix doesn't have the legalized gambling, and they don't have, let's just say the prostitution, and I know that exists all over the world, but it's something about, it just seems whenever I'm in Vegas, you always see guys that look like they're there for not just gambling. Sometimes it's a bad influence, but that can happen in any city. I just think.
Yeah, but Charlton, the problem of having a 24-hour town with young men with excessive amounts of money and also excessive time because they know what their work schedule is and their travel schedule.
Yeah.
But you look at Vegas. Vegas is not a major television market, Charlton.
No.
It's not even in the top 50 in America. So where's the television revenue going to come from, Charlton? That's not going to be there feeding the franchise.
You know where the money's coming from, Big C. It's coming from the casino people and the people that fly on their private jets or the people that fly their commercial jets like the Cavaliers did. And whatever they picked up, I mean, I think for people who fly airlines, I don't think you have to take a connecting flight from Oakland to Las Vegas before you go back up to Cleveland. So we know there's something that goes on in the world of sports, and I don't think it's a good thing. And I think that the NHL going down there is not going to be good for their players long-term and short-term, Big C.
Well, Charlton, you're looking at people who live in this city who a lot of them survive on minimum wage tip jobs.
Yeah.
So going out becoming a season ticket holder for a professional franchise is not going to be inexpensive. When we saw in the NBA Finals where somebody paid $99,000 for 2 courtside seats. It is not inexpensive to go to a sporting event. You know, you're at a sporting event now, professional one, where Vegas is a place where you get drinks for free, okay, Charlton?
Well, hold on, Big C. I've never gotten free drinks. I mean, maybe I'm not Big C, but how do you get free drinks down in Vegas, Big C? And I thought you said what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Are you giving up? You got a black card or something, Big C? Is that what's happening?
No. What I was saying is that you know when you're at a gas station, or whatever, they have a water fountain outside.
Okay,
and
you drinking out the water hose for free? Okay, Big C. I understand. But yeah,
you know, when you think about that, and patrons and casinos are receiving free drinks for patronizing the places all the time, Charlton.
Yeah.
Versus going to a sporting event where it's going to cost you $10 or $12 for that same beverage.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of different exchanges of money in Vegas. And I look at it from the prospect, Charlton. Yes, they have preseason games that coming in by the NBA.
Yeah.
But it's only 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
It's not a season of games. You know, they've played a couple of hockey games there. But you're talking about people devoting an entire season to coming in and filling an arena.
Yeah.
It looks good initially, but the honeymoon lasts only so long when you're not putting a winning product. And when you put a franchise out there that has not played together before, you're not going to put a winning product together right off the back. So you got a 2-year honeymoon, and then you got a half-empty arena stadium, Charlton.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. And speaking of also honeymoons, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it for it tough. And when you go down and test drive it, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, Beneath His Wings Foundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, it's secure. And when you tweet out to them, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. When it comes to promotion and advertisement, contact Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment. When it comes to promotion, she's the best in Northern California. And let her know that Charlton and Big C sent you. You can also make a donation to Charlton and Big C Sports. Now, Big C, when we look at Major League Baseball, I know that the Cubs, you think they're the best team in the majors. I'm pulling for the San Francisco Giants, not because I'm a homer either. I just think they have great pitching with Cueto. But right now, Arrieta, he's let go 2 losses so far, Big C. Your thoughts on the Cubs? They fell to the Cardinals 4-3, and Matt Holliday had a 2-run homer, and also Carpenter had a solo drive in the third to lift St. Louis to a win. So are the Cubs starting to slip a little bit, Big C? Your thoughts on that?
You know, Charlton, I don't look at that as them slipping. You know, baseball with 162 games during the regular season, there's a lot of games. Jake Arrieta, who lost today, is now 11-2 on the season.
Yeah.
But when you look at the record pace that the Cubs are on, they're still on pace, Charlton, to win about 126 games this year.
Yeah.
And you really have to admire what Joe Madden has done for this organization since he's been there. You know, Theo Epstein is the GM who came from Boston, who built those championship teams in Boston several years ago.
Yeah.
And now he's come to Chicago, who is on the clock. Now that Cleveland has won a championship, it's been about 118 years since the Cubbies have won. You know, we know the Bulls have won. We know the Chicago Bears have won.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks have won, but the Cubbies, you know, one of the longest-suffering franchises in Major League sports. You know, 118 years since winning a World Series. It's time. And Joe Madden is one of the more respected managers in baseball. When you think about what he did with the young Tampa Bay Devil Rays, in building that organization, getting them, you know, to the World Series, and having some marvelous young players who have now gone off into free agency with other organizations. But here's a team that fans are real fans on the South Side.
Yeah, that's
they are
definitely
there.
true.
Win,
Yeah.
lose, indifferent. They've always had a packed house, and you cannot get into Wrigley Field now. You know, the great Harry Carey is gone, who announced games forever
Oh, he was
in
amazing.
Chicago.
Yeah.
But, you know, this organization is alive and well, and this is the greatest thing for baseball. If the Cubs could keep on this record pace, this is the greatest story that you can have in baseball. It's like the Warriors winning 73 games, Charles.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So baseball is always going well. We know that the San Francisco Giants, they won championships in 2010, 2012, and 14. 2016 might be their year again. They definitely have the pitching and the hitting for it. They got 15 hits, actually 15 runs and 22 hits in that victory yesterday against the Pirates, and they're playing again as we speak, Big C. But I want to just bring this up to you also because we know we cover football is so big, and I love, again, telling you how USC is getting ready to go down and beat Alabama in the Kickoff Classic.
You can see what? You can see what?
Well, I just think about how we talk about so many things happening. I know they were just saying that Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, that whole staff got a pay raise. Everybody's getting more money because Big Nick Saban has been winning so many games down there in the great state of Alabama. So they found a way to get their staff, the entire coaching staff, Big C, more money. Still no talk of getting any money for the athletes because, and the reason is we can't pay them because we're barely breaking even, Big C, from what I hear. But they just gave all their pay staff, the coaching staff, an extra paycheck, Big C. I think as much as $1 million for one of the guys on the staff. You and I can talk about it until the cows come home. And I think, Jay Billis, this is going to be a big lightning rod issue coming up in the football season, how they're getting more money for these coaching staffs. They're going to the Kickoff Classic again, where it will be sponsored by major sponsors all over the country. And still no talk of money, but I know USC paid Lynn Swann. In fact, he may have to go to Las Vegas to cash his check, too, because I don't know if banks in California can hold that kind of money. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, it's always been a sensitive point, Charlton. How do you balance that?
Yeah.
How do you pay players in college sports?
Yeah.
Because you have these mega conferences, Charlton.
Yeah.
We talk about the heritage. We got 5 big major college conferences in college basketball, football. So where's the money at?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about these lesser conferences, Charlton, where, you know, the teams don't have the 100,000 seat stadiums? They may have 25, 40,000 seat stadiums.
Yeah.
That are not always filled. You know, everybody's not the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12.
Yeah.
All of these conferences don't exist all over the country. When you look at some of these small Midwestern and Northeastern conferences, I'm thinking about the Ivy League,
Yeah.
who was really the heritage of college football some 80 years ago, 70 years ago. The Ivy League was the powerhouses.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of programs go by the wayside. I know we talked about UOP out there in
Stockton,
California.
Yeah.
Which was one of the greatest programs in college football. Matter of fact, Pete Carroll played there, the coach of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Joe Perry, Hall of Fame running back of the San Francisco 49ers, and R.C. Owens also, an Hall of Fame receiver. So when you think about some of these great programs over the decades that have gone away for lack of funding or lack of interest, and yet you have these feeder conferences that are getting all the television revenue, Charlton.
Yeah.
So how will you pay those players in the lesser conferences with, you know, on an equality basis versus somebody who's on a national championship team or playing in the ACC?
Well, you know, Big C, we talked about earlier how John Skipper in the last couple of programs, he's the president of ESPN, and, you know, you brought up a good point about the money that's being made. ESPN is owned by ABC Sports, and will they cover more of the predominantly black colleges, such as the SWAC and the MEAC, this football season? And we don't know if that's going to happen or not. They usually cover one game a year on NBC, but they're going to have high school football games every Friday night on ESPN to showcase some of the top high school talent, and that's sponsored by somebody. Some of these sponsors are putting in big money. It would make more sense if they supported the black colleges, because those are the same colleges and the conferences that are sending players onto the NFL, Big C. I hope that happens, and I hope that we can be the start of that happening. I know everybody's hyped about USC, Alabama, but the black colleges would be something that I'd like to see more sponsorship going to, because as you said so well before, if you put money into something, then it can grow. If you take money out of something, then it's not going to grow. And that's why I'm proud of UPS when they gave $500 million to the Ali Center to help promote education for inner city youth, Big C. Any type of push like that you can see coming from the SEC. I know they're a big conference, but you're down in that power conference. Any talk on supporting the lower level schools like the black colleges that have the same kind of talent but just no exposure, Big C?
Well, no, Charlton, and I don't see them giving up a dime. When you think about who's benefited from the black conferences over the decades, it has been SEC, Charlton. If you look at prior to 1970, there were no African-American athletes, Charlton, in the SEC.
Yeah.
They were all at historical black institutions, all playing down in the West Coast or up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
They could not play in a conference like the SEC, or half of them couldn't even play in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So when you look at how they've benefited from integration and desegregation, they have benefited the most. And the African-American schools have really suffered. So they have the ability and the knowledge, Charlton, to share.
Yeah.
Will they? No. They're not going to integrate their money in a historical black college, Charlton.
Well, that's a very good lightning point. In the last segment, I want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor. We offer $100,000 in life insurance guaranteed, no medical questions. Also by Goosehead Property and Casualty, we beat about 99% of the people in competition when it comes to giving you a quote for your home or your car. And also, I'm the life insurance broker for American Amicable and One Life. We are the leaders when it comes to final expense. Now, Big C, this is something that's also controversial because I heard about it today. I told you I thought McCaffrey should have won the Heisman Trophy out at Stanford because he had over 5,000 yards of total offense. He even beat Reggie Bush's record in the Pac-12 for total offense. But there's some talk that because on the West Coast, a lot of games start at about 7 o'clock. And we know you good old boys, you tend to drink a lot of moonshine, and you're asleep by the 7 o'clock when it comes around, so you don't see him, Big C. But he made this statement, okay? He said that white players are discriminated against when it comes to voting in awards, the same way African-American players are discriminated against when it comes to maybe playing quarterback or the more storied positions. Any thoughts on that with McCaffrey, Big C? Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, I really don't think that white players are discriminated against. You had an exceptional athlete this year at Stanford.
Yeah.
Okay, this past season. Now, that does not occur every day.
Right.
Now, there's been many of Anglo quarterbacks that have not been discriminated against over the years, as well as in other positions, playing center, winning the Remington Award, winning the Biletnikoff Award, so the Golden Arm Award at quarterback. So white players have not been discriminated against. I mean, McCaffrey had a season of seasons that that goes down in history, but he finished second. And the thing about it, what they look at is how your team finishes up, Charlton. That's how college football goes, and even professional sports. Where does your team win? You know, you can be the highest scoring player in any league, but if your team is a 500 team, a 600 team, you're not going to get the MVP trophy, Charles.
You're right, because
it's just not going to occur. You have to have your team in position to win a championship, and I believe Stanford lost a couple games during the season. I know they lost their season opener to Northwestern, you know, which was a shocker to most of the country. That, you know, but they tried to say, well, it was a time difference. You knew what time that game was for 6 months.
And I agree with that, too.
That should not have been an issue.
I agree.
Like you woke up, oh, they moved the game up to this time.
Well, you know,
you got to get dressed.
I'm one of the guys that believes in the Cleveland Cavaliers theory that sometimes you get the home cooking, Big C. Maybe they got the home cooking back there in Illinois, wherever they are at Northwestern. I think they're in
Illinois.
Evansville, Illinois. So, you know, that's one topic he brought up. But I think where McCaffrey's wrong is his father also played NFL football. But when you talk about discrimination, it's about money. Look at the money that the Caucasian athletes get, even in the NFL, whether you're a quarterback making $100 million and not winning, like a guy like Matthew Stafford or someone like a Tony Romo. They're never questioned about it. So I think McCaffrey is speaking emotionally.
You talk about money in sports. Stanford Stadium, how many does it seat? About 50,000?
Yeah, about 50,000.
Do they have a sellout every 7 home games?
No, they don't.
Okay, Alabama, where Derrick Henry, the Heisman Trophy winner, resides. Okay, you got a stadium that seats about 106,000 people. Even for the spring game, you get close to 100,000 people. You know, the spring game has twice as many people as 2 Stanford home
but
games.
But Big C, let's be honest. They're handing out moonshine at those tailgating parties. That's why you good old boys can stay up until the wee hours of the night, Big C. You got to be honest about that too, Big C.
Well, Charlton, you had a place where people recognize and appreciate great athletes.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
In the California, they talk about those airheads out there, and so they're all lost doing other things other than sitting in a hot stadium on Saturday, appreciating good football. So that's the reason why West Coast teams do not bring Southeast Conference teams out to play, because they don't want to be embarrassed at home.
Well, you know what? Speaking of being embarrassed, I think USC put it on. I think they shut out Auburn. Was it 23-0 down at Jordan-Hare Stadium? I think they beat up on Arkansas the year after that under Pete Carroll, 50-14. They actually also beat Arkansas 70-17 at the Coliseum, and I think USC is looking at doing the same thing to Alabama at the kickoff classic, Big C. So you can't say you didn't hear it here first, Big C, and you can always hear it. Real Talk every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Worldwide, we're going to bring you Charlton and Big C. Big C, I'm going to start saying Charlton and the Mystics, okay? On Charlton and Big C Sports, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope you have a super fantastic day.